would you welcome its star from Los Angeles, Mr. Brandon Lee. It's great action stuff. Welcome to Australia, too.
Thank you very much. I'm really looking forward to being here for a while.
Rapid fire.
Hello. Another failed attempt at a new hit, groundbreaking television series on the internet, Rapid Fire. So I guess we'll get started with a movie or series of movies that you watched recently. Have you seen any sequels and their originals lately?
I decided to revisit Tim Burton's Batman movies, Batman '89 and Batman Returns.
Intriguing.
The reason why I revisited them is because they got released on 4K, and I saw a review that they had changed the audio and changed the picture. I don't own them on Blu-ray, so I wanted to see if I actually did want to own them.
Yeah.
After revisiting them after all these years, I was really shocked by how campy the movies are.
Especially the first.
Well, I mean, Batman Returns literally has penguins with missiles on them. So
Yeah, but penguins are so cute.
they're both really campy, but Batman Returns is just way grosser.
I always have this argument with people who have seen both of them. I love the second one way more than I do the first one.
Why?
Okay. There's the first one, it's more of sort of a family, like I realize there's killing and stuff, but it feels more like a, hey, let's have the whole family watch this movie kind of movie. The second one, yeah, it's grosser, it's darker, there's a lot less people in the crowds, but the architecture and stuff I think makes up for that. I think it was worth it.
It's funny to me after all these years because Batman, Adam West's TV show, Batman '60s, Batman was always seen as so campy. And the reality is the Tim Burton movies, they are very close to the Adam West show. Like it's not as obviously colorful. It doesn't have kapow, but they are super campy.
Have you ever seen the Adam West Batman show? It's for
I've seen the show
stoned
and
people.
the movie.
Okay. I've never seen the movie, but I used to watch a show at 4 a.m. on TV Land. It's rough. If you want coherent and quality storytelling and set design, it's rough, but it's very goofy.
And so after revisiting them, they're not very good Batman movies. Like I think them as movies, they're fine, but for the character, he's supposedly the world's greatest detective, and he's just completely sidelined in the movies. He doesn't really have a lot to do, especially in the second movie. I like the villains. Jack Nicholson gives a great performance in the first movie. Christopher Walken, DeVito, and Michelle Pfeiffer are great in the second. But I'm just really not a big fan of them. And what I enjoyed most about revisiting them was watching the special features. Warner Brothers did the documentaries on both the movies, but they were interviewing everybody after the fact, and people were brutally honest about the movies. It was great to hear Jack Nicholson talk about Batman and how he knew it was going to be a hit and talking about his performance. The most interesting thing was listening to Tim Burton. After Batman Returns, he went to Warner Brothers, pitched another Batman movie, and they said to him, well, Tim, wouldn't it be better for you to make a smaller budget movie? When you listen to Tim Burton, he said, wait, so you guys don't actually want me to make another movie? And they're like, oh, no, that's not what we're saying at all. And he just goes, no, that's exactly what you're saying. And so the meeting went really bad. You could tell that he was really hurt. They gave him a lot of creative freedom in Batman Returns. They basically just told him, just make a Tim Burton movie. He had a really great experience making it. Listening to him, it was like, oh, wow. It would have been nice to see them make a third. That's what I got out of this. Even though I don't really like the movies anymore, there is a lot of creativity in them. Tim Burton, quirky sensibilities. It was also really interesting hearing about Sean Young, who was originally supposed to be
Catwoman.
yes, but she was supposed to be in the first movie. She was supposed to play Kim Basinger's role, but she broke her leg when she was horse riding.
Okay.
That would have been interesting. So they interviewed her and she talked about it and she reflected on her career. And she was like, if I had done this movie, I would have been a big hit. Then I would have been in another hit, maybe. She was just reflecting on her career. And I love seeing special features that you actually get to see the honesty after the fact, after decades of the movie being out. You know,
cool.
These people just, really talking about it. And she did bring up her story about Catwoman, how she dressed up in the suit, went into the Warner's office, and she jumped on the couch and said, "I'm Catwoman," in front of the main producer and Michael Keaton.
She also did this very same on a television show.
He's going to join us today with a message to the director, Tim Burton, okay?
I have a message for the director of Batman 2. How dare you not make time to see the Catwoman? Business is business, and doing good business means that you return your phone calls. It's a pretty simple formula, Timmy. Seems to me old Timmy takes himself pretty seriously now, so I'm going to do you a favor and help you check into reality for a minute. And when I had an accident and fractured my shoulder from falling off that horse, but something must have happened.
Oh, she did.
It basically just demanded the 60s Catwoman. She came in dressed like that, and she's like, "Tim Burton, you need to put me in your movie," or something like that.
That was really fun to watch the behind the scenes documentary of seeing set designs and everything. Listening to Michelle Pfeiffer talk about the role and how she thought she was only gonna have like 5 minutes of screen time. Danny DeVito talking about the movie. Also hearing about how Robin Williams was desperate to be the Joker. Batman 89. It was so important to him. He really wanted to play the character. Like it was like a huge goal of his. Warner Brothers promised him. They said, "Yeah, you got the gig." And then they hired Jack Nicholson.
Well, it was, from what I've heard, this could be wrong, it was just a tactic to get Nicholson to come down on his contract offer.
That was really interesting to hear everyone tell these stories and reflect on the movie. It's rare to get that type of honesty after the facts. I more so enjoyed the behind the scenes of those movies.
To close out Batman, I have a couple little pieces of trivia that you might find interesting. You already debunked my Sean Young one. But let's discuss Christopher Walken. Do you know the name of his character in Batman Returns?
I do not recall.
Max Schreck. That's the name of the actor who portrayed Dracula in Nosferatu. Not really that interesting or important, but if you're interested in that, you might find that interesting. They said to Tim Burton, "Why don't you make a different, lower budget movie?" They gave him Superman and spent like $200 million on a movie that has never come out, has never had any shots. That's incredible to me.
Yeah, there's photos of Nick Cage in the suit. They made the suit.
They also paid for a shit ton of scripts, and it was a big money hole.
I'd like to see that documentary on them. The guy who made it has passed away a few years ago, John Schnepp. I mean, I love docs about movies, especially when something went wrong and you're learning about it. That's the best. I love that stuff.
Yes, I did see quite a few movies over the past week or so. Let's see. The first one we'll talk about is X-Files 2, or as it's actually known, X-Files I Want to Believe, where the convoluted and insane creators, bringing Batman back up, tried to blame the film's poor performance on the release date. The film was released in the summer of 2008, I believe. Do you remember what big Batman-related thing that sort of changed the landscape of movies happened at that time?
Yeah, The Dark Knight.
There you go. Anyways, this movie, I've always been a big fan of the first movie. I even saw it in theaters. I don't know how much of that is nostalgia. I was never a big X-Files fan when it came out, and it was a continuation of like the 5th or 6th season going into the 6th or 7th. It felt like a big Hollywood, huge, you don't need to know anything about the show to enjoy this. The movie that came out like 10, 15 years after the show ended felt more like just a really long episode than that did. It's not the worst movie, but it definitely has big problems. Number one, Exhibit's in it.
Oh, yeah.
Number two, Amanda Peet is partners with Exhibit,
Yeah.
which is fine. I like Amanda Peet. She has nice breasts. But the filmmakers decided to kill off Amanda Peet instead of Exhibit. So that's points number one docked off. Number two, there's basically two plots going on. It's Mulder's doing something and Scully's doing something. They've since not gotten married, but they lived together. They had a kid who died at some point. Scully's a doctor at some major Catholic hospital. Mulder's just sitting around doing nothing. Series of murders start occurring. Or kidnappings. They don't find the bodies until about 20 minutes in. But anyways, an FBI agent gets kidnapped, so they bring in Mulder for some reason, and he goes about tracking down the kidnapped murderers. Essentially, the kidnapped murderer plot is a weird Russian science team is in America, and they're trying to figure out how to attach like one person's head to another person's body, which they did successfully with a dog. The Scully plot is kid who like has some really rare disease. There's no cure for it. The hospital administrator's like, let's just get him to one of those places where you essentially wait to die. I can't think of the name right now. She finds this really weird experimental procedure to cure it. The two plots are not connected in any way, but they try to sort of ham-fistedly connect them. On Agent Mulder's first sort of visit to the crime scene to look at things. Oh yeah, there's a psychic priest there too, played by Billy Connolly. So she's trying to save the kid. For some reason, she goes to the first crime scene with Mulder, even though she doesn't go to any of them again. She's like, I'm not associating with the FBI anymore. They got a problem with my sweet tits, or whatever she said. And so the psychic priest just at that one meeting says to her, don't give up. Keep fighting. And she's like, what are you talking about? You're a former priest child. The psychic priest is also a former child molester. God, what a weird movie. You don't know nothing. You're a sick, depraved man.
Yeah.
Which is like, there's been 4 or 5 episodes that I've seen where Scully has like a conscience of her Christianity, and that's a main plot point. Anyways, not a great movie. Not bad.
Right.
Watch the first one instead if you're an X-Files fan.
I saw it once when it came out on DVD, and that's when my seething hatred of Chris Carter began. And he solidified that with the revival.
One episode of the revival, and I didn't like it.
TV series.
Have you never seen an interview with Chris Carter, is what I have to say to you.
It's these three computer geeks, basically foiling terrorists trying to destroy the World Trade Center. You know, and they do it in a funny way, and it's.
I definitely echo your sentiments. Watch the show, watch the first movie, call it a day.
Another caveat for the show is, if I know I've said this before, but if any of the episodes have anything to do with aliens or the overarching plot, it's fucking terrible. If it's a one-off with a one-time monster or villain, awesome.
First 6 seasons, Monster of the Week episodes, they're pretty cool.
They both left the show, and then they brought in an Italian woman and Robert Patrick. Yeah.
Yeah, they had some type of contract negotiation problems.
Another little sidetrack we could take is talking about how much contract problems there were between Fox and Mulder and Scully.
I'd like to find the time to revisit the X-Files show. It's on Hulu. It's just 22, 24 episode seasons.
I would if I didn't have Hulu with ads. If I had your luxuries, I would be watching it
Right.
like 2 or 3 or 4 episodes tonight. Anyways, that's the X-Files. What's another movie you saw?
So I decided to take the plunge and watch Mortal Kombat 2021.
Sorry, I didn't even see it, and I can tell you it's a piece of shit.
Well, actually, that's what I wanted to talk about. I think the reaction is ridiculous to this movie. It is so overblown. When it came out, I watched it with my dad. It was a decent one-time watch. It's not a good movie. None of the Mortal Kombat movies are good. It's flawed, yes, but I had a decent time. 2 or 3 days later, I decided to actually look and see what people thought. It is just toxic fandom in a nutshell.
See, that's the thing that's driving me up the wall about it. Was there like a huge Mortal Kombat fan base? I haven't touched Mortal Kombat since the 90s.
They rebooted the game series with Mortal Kombat 9 way back, and the games have been really good. The thing about it is, Mortal Kombat is stupid, and seeing people freak out about characters, the fact that Johnny Cage isn't in it,
Oh,
how
ooh.
the characters have birthmarks in the movie. That is basically their invitation to Mortal Kombat. And I'm seeing a lot of people freak out about this and the logic of it. I'm like, hey guys, this is a movie about a guy who shoots icicles out of his hands.
Hey guys, this is a movie based on a game where the draw is we let you become a dragon that bites people's heads off.
Right. Yeah.
Johnny Cage wins. Flawless victory.
Chris Carter was the mastermind behind 9/11.
I do like the new casts. It's not great. The big problem that I have towards the end of the movie is they cross-cut the fights, which is something I'm never cool with when it comes to having fight scenes. It made me think about Cradle to the Grave, the ending of that movie where you have Jet Li and Mark Dacascos and you're cutting to all of the other fighters, and both of them expressed that their fight scene was destroyed in editing. That was also a Warner Brothers movie like Mortal Kombat. I just think that the movie was taken away from the director. There is a point in the movie where it feels like 20 minutes is cut out of just like narrative. I did have fun with it. It's stupid. I knew going in, this is Mortal Kombat with a K. Like, it's...
That surprised me there haven't been any calls for it to be boycotted because it has a K. The Ku Klux Klan spells with a K instead of a C.
It really showed me also the reaction to Godzilla versus Kong, where there is just such a weird energy around franchises right now.
Yeah.
Where people are holding this idolatry towards them. And I'm done. You know, I'm really done with this weirdo energy that is happening.
We sort of brushed on this before we started recording. It's like that's basically what all studios are focusing on now is just franchises. And it's like 90% of the people who go to see movies are perfectly content with that. They want it. They love it. I get to see more action with King Kong and Godzilla.
It's a stupid movie. Mortal Kombat, it's not that bad. If I do decide to watch any more franchise movies, I don't need to see what anyone else thinks about them. When the Tom and Jerry reboot movie came out,
yeah, people hated it. I didn't watch it either, but people hated it.
Just seeing 40-year-old men scream at the top of their lungs about Tom and Jerry, I should have known right then and there that, okay, we're in a very dangerous area here with fandom. The reaction has solidified it. It's not a good movie. I'm hearing people say that Mortal Kombat Annihilation is a better movie than this. And I'm just going to say to you right
It might be funnier.
You're a fucking moron. Yeah, it might be funnier, but what's another film that you saw?
I watched American Me. Last night. It has a lot in common with another movie I watched and we're going to talk about in a little bit, but Edward James Olmos stars and directed in it. It's written by 3 people who I didn't recognize. See, the description said something like 3 guys grew up in El Barrio or in the ghetto, you know, rise up as capitalists or something. So I thought it'd be like Edward James Olmos gets out of prison, sort of Carlito's Way kind of thing. But no, they're just cholos the entire time. If you play the drinking game, where you take a shot of anything, even a shot of beer, every time somebody says orale, you'll be dead in the first half hour from alcohol poisoning.
Sentence with a
Does most of it take place in prison?
A lot of it does. I'd say it's 50-50 maybe. Some of it's flashback.
Okay.
The movie is Edward James Olmos and William Forsythe and a different Mexican dude are 3 high-level La M members. See Starts off in prison describing his father, meeting his mother, and his mother being raped by sailors or something. That takes like 20 minutes, longer than it should. Shows him as a kid for like 20, 30 minutes till he goes to prison, then it's just a flash forward and he's Edward James Olmos. It really reminded me of, I'm so sorry, I could never remember the name of this movie and have to ask you every time. American History X starring a dude from Game of Thrones.
Edward Norton, he wasn't in Game of Thrones.
No.
I think you're talking about Shot Caller.
Shot Caller. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. If he was exactly like Shot Caller in sort of tone and everything that happens, it's obviously has a different plot. You know, he gets out, he tries to find love, and that was the weird part I wanted to mention. So he gets raped on his first day in juvie. Also, him and they go to juvie because a gang of Mexicans is chasing them, trying to kill them. So they break into some place. Don't steal anything, don't break anything. And so they're in juvie for like 5 years. But then he kills the guy who rapes him anyways. The weird thing is, when he gets out, he's fucking this hot Hispanic woman. They're cutting from him fucking this woman to in prison. There's this like Hollywood star's son who they're trying to extort, being raped. And then halfway through that, he flips her over and tries to fuck her in the ass or something. It was very, very bizarre. Much like another actor turned director, I'm going to say to Edward James Olmos, get your ass in front of the camera. It wasn't terrible. Don't get me wrong. It wasn't a really terrible movie. If you've seen these kind of gang, hopeless movies, sort of Sicario kind of depressing atmosphere and feel, you've been there, done that.
I remember seeing it, I think once, many years ago on the IFC channel.
Yeah, what'd you think?
And I can't really remember anything about it.
Okay.
Did see that it was on Netflix, but...
They added it like
do you
this week or
recommend
something. If you're really into gangster movies, I guess so. If not, and you've seen one of them, like I said, it's not really that memorable other than the weird, he tries to butt fuck some woman scene.
So are there any like set pieces, action, shootouts, anything?
He tried to go ultra realistic, so it'd be like, hey, this guy don't want to kill so-and-so because he's his friend. We gotta send a message. You take care of him, I say. Orale. And then, 4 or 5 guys surround him. One stabs him 4 or 5 times, and then they walk away. There is one scene where there's like a weird prison riot, but nothing really happens. The black gang leader comes up and confronts Edward James Olmos, and they basically just say, the shit ain't over yet. Well, also, Ron Perlman does a Hispanic, not Ron, the kid who plays young William Forsythe looks just like Ron Perlman. And William Forsythe does a Hispanic accent throughout the movie.
Now he's running around talking loud shit about how he wants her to blame me. His number's up, Holmes.
You talk like a fucking chicon, man.
Anyways, you seen anything else this week?
Against my better judgment, decided to...
You're just making bad calls all day, aren't you?
Sure am. I decided to watch this horror movie called Trick, which is directed by Patrick Lusser, who did the My Bloody Valentine remake and the satanic occult movie Drive Angry with Nicolas Cage. So I knew what I was getting into when I decided to
braced for impact.
Roll the dice on this thing. And it is a super desperate, try hard, trying to be Scream, trying to be super clever. It's about all of these murders that keep happening by a guy in a costume. There was all these teenagers at a party and this guy went crazy. He disappeared. The concept isn't bad. It's just the execution is terrible. The camera work is nuts. It is just shaky cam city, just all the time.
When is this from?
Came out 2019.
Oh.
Omar Epps is the lead detective. He's fine in it. He's looking pretty bloated, but
well, it's been a long time since the 90s, man.
Days. It's been a long time since In Too Deep. Hello, Cool J. The acting is atrocious from all the teenagers and just everyone involved. To solidify the Scream connection, Jamie Kennedy is in the movie. He plays a doctor. Yeah, I'm not going to get into the ending reveal and everything, but it is a disaster. There's a reason why Scream stands on its own and why nobody really is getting that clever with the subversion of the genre.
Let me guess. The killer used to be a woman, is now a man.
Oh, no. Look at the top of his head. Oh, he tried it.
trying to do a sleepaway camp riff, and I got lost halfway through.
It's much stupider than that. I don't recommend this to anyone, even if you love horror movies and you love slasher movies. I'm begging you, avoid it. It is on Hulu if you decide to do it, but please don't. That's all I have to say on Trick in 2019.
When you first said Trick, it reminded me of, I think it was a Francis Ford Coppola movie from the early 2000s. It was like maybe about witches or vampire. I never saw it. It's called like Twigs or Twins or Twixt or something. Do you know what I'm talking
Twixt.
about? Twixt.
Yeah, that's with Val Kilmer and Elle Fanning.
So I'm sure it's terrible. Yeah. You got post 19, let's say 90s, just be generous. Francis Ford Coppola. Post 2000s Val Kilmer. It's a recipe for disaster, my friend.
The whole movie was shot during daylight, but
Day for Night, your favorite.
He changed the color correction of the movie. It's a disaster. Much like Omar Epps being bloated, it's Val Kilmer being very bloated.
Ah, yes.
Cocaine is a hell of a drug.
The next movie I saw is almost intertwined with the previous one. I saw a movie directed by, but not starring, Dennis Hopper. Colors. I thought it was embarrassing at points. We had another non-Hispanic person doing a Hispanic accent, which made me laugh.
I am the set. Kicking back dealing with the hump boys, man.
Sean Penn. I'm pretty sure I've said this before, but I don't really like Sean Penn. I find him annoying on screen. The waitress lady was Conchita Alonso. She was looking good as ever.
Isn't Robert Duvall in that movie?
Yeah, but the focus is really... See, that's why I thought I'd like it, because I'm like, okay, it'll be Robert Duvall. He's an old cop, grizzled guy. He's getting ready to retire, whatever. But no, the movie basically focuses on Sean Penn. And also the black guy doing a Hispanic accent fucks Maria Conchita Alonso. And Sean Penn beats just random people walking around.
So it's relevant.
I guess so. You're right. It's a movie about our times and about our peoples and culture. If you're going to pick Colors or American Me, go American Me. Dennis Hopper, put your ass back in front of the fucking camera. Put the joint down, put your little acid tab down, and get in front of the camera, okay? Also rise from the grave to do so.
Please someone reanimate him.
Love Dennis Hopper, but another really bad thing was 80s rap is almost is probably worse than the shit that they're putting out now. You know, the mumble stuff. It's fucking we going straight home. We're gonna drink some milk for the vitamin.
80s hip hop is the yes, yes, y'all era.
Ha yeah. Ha
Yeah, it's definitely some stuff that holds up. Chuck D, obviously from Public Enemy.
Oh yeah, there was one song that was good. It was obviously Colors by Ice-T. I'm usually not a big Ice-T fan, but I didn't mind Colors. Wasn't bad, especially for an 80s rap song.
Definitely some stuff that held up. And you got to understand that that's the infancy of hip hop. That's when people are, you're just getting out of people rapping in the park in New York City at hip hop beginnings.
So that's a no recommendation. Hate Sean Penn. I do love Maria Conchita Alonso and Robert Duvall, though, to a lesser extent, Robert Duvall. Because he didn't have them sweet tits. Anywho, what about you? What's something else you saw?
To tie into your American Me conversation, I also watched a prison film, the Steven Seagal disaster piece, Half Past Dead, 2002, to let the audience know, to kind of get a vibe of what the movie is. Just imagine Michael Bay's The Rock, except you have Steven Seagal instead of Sean Connery, and Ja Rule instead of Nicolas Cage, and you have Morris Chestnut as the villain instead of Ed Harris. That sounds really, really, really fucking stupid. You're right. And
also, the director has autism.
Oh, he does?
I had no idea.
Oh, I thought you actually knew. It is a total blast. I had so much fun watching it. It is a total piece of shit. It is the last watchable Steven Seagal movie. All of his direct-to-video stuff is just, It's not even funny. It's just terrible. Like, he refused to do looping on the movies, and there's just random people dubbing over his voice.
He also refused to get out of his chair 90% of the time.
Half past that, there's literally a scene where Steven Seagal kicks a guy once. The guy flies across the room, and he's just dead. You're just like, wait, what? He died from one kick?
He died from a keto.
If it wasn't PG-13,
oh,
it would be a lot more fun if they had the gore in it. I definitely recommend it if you're a Steven Seagal fan. If you just love like super cheesy, ridiculous, it's not a direct-to-video action movie, but it has that type. It was totally fun. It's a movie where you can just crack open some beers, smoke some weed. I really had a fun time watching it. If you can and enjoy, lines like when a prison guard walks up to Seagal and puts his hands on him and says,
"You want to play rough? Sorry, I'm not into men."
Was he speaking in a southern or black accent at the time?
Oh, there is definitely some ebonics going on with him talking to Ja Rule.
Brother man. We gotta wing it and flip it, my brother man.
It's the last movie that he did that was in theaters where he was the lead. It's not as bad as people make it out to be. I mean, it's a bad movie. I think it really is a fun. I will say his early stuff is good.
Yeah.
The early stuff is really good to me. Good action movies.
For me, you got to look at it at the same length. The actions works, but the plot and dialogue and stuff, you got to look at it the same way, like as a joke, basically, for me.
When you're watching a Seagal movie, you're watching it to see people get blown away with shotguns and have arms broken and have the bones stick out.
Get a keto to death.
Like,
yes.
What's another movie that you've watched?
This is going to start another running theme where I do two movies that have some sort of I can't think of the thread, but I'm sure somebody else out there could. I rewatched The Waterboy recently.
Oh, Jesus.
And let me just say, even that early of Adam Sandler, what a fucking piece of shit. I was disgusted. They even managed to make young Veruca Balk look not good. Now, don't get me wrong. She was never the sexiest woman in the world. There's no question about that. But she looked good. She had this weird thing going on where she had this giant mouth. Kathy Bates is terrible. Henry Winkler is terrible. All the sports-related cameos, terrible. And worst of all, this may be the beginning of one of the worst trends in film history. Adam Sandler doing a stupid accent. Was this the first?
First starring vehicle where he did a dumb accent. As far as a movie, yeah. I would say probably, yeah.
I believe Little Nicky was next, which was even worse. You guys created an unmitigated failure. And you should feel bad.
The only thing I remember from that movie is like the crocodile scene or whatever. Can't even remember that fully, but it's been a long time.
Yeah, me too, because it's, again, Adam Sandler, I was a moron when I was like 9 when my voice broke. I sound like I'm 9 now. I was like, I loved...
His balls dropped, ladies and gentlemen.
That's right. On your mother's fucking cheek. I loved Adam Sandler movies as a 9, 10, 11-year-old. I rewatched this. I finally know what it feels like when they said that George Lucas killed their childhood. I gave him so much shit, and I finally... Even though I know Adam Sandler sucked for some time, I thought, you know what? It's pretty early. It's like 98, 97, maybe. It could be good. Veruca Balk is in it. Alligators are ornery because of their medulla oblongata. Yes, sir? Mama say that alligators are ornery because they got too many teeth, ain't got no toothbrush. If you want some fucking lame bullshit like that, you can watch it. I'm not gonna.
I haven't watched it in probably 15 years, so probably
keep it going, man. Keep the trend alive. Keep the streak alive.
It's not streaming.
I was just about to say, I may just throw it away and do my library a favor. I haven't decided yet, though. I may try to exercise it like it's got a demon in it or something. That might be kooky.
Unclean spirit! Shut up, your ass! In the name of...